Hello YouTube, Steel Family Cards coming at you with a deck profile. For the first time in ages, I finally have a deck to profile on the channel. So I've been working on this and another deck for several months now, and I've finally gotten them to the point where I feel pretty happy showing them off to you guys. So this is an interesting deck I concocted after researching. This is Burning Abyss Phantom Knight Eldlich. So I was inspired to make this deck after watching through some older replays of Burning Abyss Eldlich, which was a thing for a whole of 2 weeks or something back when everyone was still experimenting with Eldlich, before Synchro Eldlich became the definitive thing to do. And so I thought, hey, that's a pretty cool idea. And with Rusty being unbanned, I was like, well, what if I throw a Phantom Knight engine in there? Because I really like the Phantom Knight engine. And I got this absolute monstrosity before you, which I actually really like. It's a pretty cool deck. It's not as inconsistent as you might think, and I feel like it is like it definitely has potential, especially if someone a bit more competent at the game than me decides to take this and see what they can do with it. So, starting off, we have a Burning Abyss package, which consists of 3 Tour Guide. Obviously, Tour Guide is insane. Just summons any level 3 Fiend from your deck. So you're going to go into your Burning Abyss plays off of that. And then 2 Rhino. This is a little bit interesting at times because it is kind of bricky, but you want to open this and then another Burning Abyss so that you can go through your combo. And this is just better than some of your worse Burning Abyss stuff because it generates you the ability to go into stuff like Graph or Seer. And speaking of which, we run 2 Graph and 2 Seer. I built this last list when these are still at 2, but I honestly don't think I'd play 3 because you really don't want to use their effects to summon from hand, and you want to use their second effects, which is for Seer to special summon from Grave, Graph special summon from deck. So for anyone who's not familiar with the Burning Abyss, real quick, they all have an effect where they can special summon themselves from your hand, and then they all have an effect in the graveyard. A lot of them are not amazing, so you use their special summon from hand, but Seer and Graph are the best, because Graph is special summon from deck, and Seer is special summon from grave, when they're sent to the grave. And so you typically want to normal summon these, and then special summon another Burning Abyss to go into full combo, because any 2 level 3 monsters is full combo, because you can go into Cherubini, and that's full combo from there. And so you want to ideally get these out in other ways as opposed to just special summon them using their effect, because then you get maximum advantage. For the rest of the Burning Abyss, we run Lubick. This is the one when it's sent to grave, you can special summon another level 3 or another Burning Abyss guy from your hand. So you can summon one of these 2 if you drew it, and you don't necessarily have to summon them and use their effects. So this preserves their ability to use them in the grave to get you more advantage, which is what you always want. 1 Skarm. This is one that you will typically, if you have everything you need, you can send this to grave off of like Cherubini. During the end phase, it adds, I think, a level 3 Fiend from your deck to your hand. So this is good for recovery plays, and for adding like Farfa or something. Farfa is really cool. It's the one that's sent to the grave. You can banish it and like banish. It's like removal. It's a really cool card. Interesting interaction with a lot of different decks. So it's a good removal option, and I like playing it as a good one of just for kind of extra security and extra interruption when you discard off of stuff. So then we have, for the Eldlich part, we run 2 Golden Lord. You don't really want to run 3 in this because you don't really run enough spell and traps to warrant it. Triple Cursed Elblend. This is just obviously search your Golden Land stuff for your interruptions. Adds consistency. Very good card all around. Then Triple Scarlet, Triple Conquistador, and Triple Hawkero. So for anyone who's been living under a rock and doesn't know what Eldlich stuff does, essentially, if he's on field, these trigger. This summons from deck. This adds these to hand. These have effects. This, while he's on field, destroys something. This, while he's on field, vanishes something from grave. So they're the best ones. There's another one that's really bad, that like negates attack or something. So we don't play that guy. So yeah, it's a very standard Eldlich engine. I might run one of Black Destiny or the Black Awakening or whatever the Black Elixir is, but I don't really want to spend $20 for a one of, and I don't even think it might fit in this deck as well because this is a like a 44 card list or something. Not optimal by any means, because I run a bit more hand traps. So run 3 Ash, 2 Nib, triple Imperm, which is a fairly normal and run-of-the-mill hand trap package. They're just probably the best generic ones that you're going to want to have in your deck. This can really be anything. Hand traps are mostly personal preference. I find these nice because this deck is very capable of grinding, so you don't necessarily need a blowout hand trap like a Gamma. And this deck also runs enough bricks that you really can't afford to run the driver. So just some very standard, generic, catch-all hand traps. But yeah, you can just run essentially whatever you want in these slots. I choose to run 8 hand traps because I feel like you need at least that amount of hand traps. I'd probably like to run more, but I don't really have enough 1-card starters. It's a lot of you need some more 2-card combos and stuff if you want this to be really consistent. Also run 1 Danger Jackalope just because this is the danger I have on hand and it's a level 3. You can also run like Snake in here and they're also decent. But yeah, Jackalope's just free extender. So that's just kind of a weird card that I don't really know where to put in the profile. And then my pride and joy, my babies, my Phantom Knight package. Full rarity. Oh yeah. So essentially, you go into this off of Rusty Bardish. I'll probably show a little combo at the end of the video just so you can kind of get an idea how this deck hopes to function. So, Silent Boots, Cloak, Torn Scales you can send off of Cherubini usually in your normal combo sequence if you open optimally. And he just essentially allows you to get an extra negate or interruption on board, depending on what you want to go into. I wasn't originally playing him. You don't have to play him if you don't want to spend the money, but I would recommend it if you can afford him or if you already have him. And then also Shade Brigandine, which is probably one of my favorite extenders in the game. The final 3 cards we're playing are optional probably. It's just a Dragoon package. I have a Dragoon, so I'm going to play a Dragoon. If you don't want to get a Dragoon, if you don't want to play a Dragoon, you can literally just cut these and make them not exist, and it won't completely impact the deck in any way. You don't need to go into Dragoon. It's just a strong option to go into, so I choose to go into it. But if you also want to make the deck less cards, you could probably literally just cut like this and the Jackalope, and you'd have a 40-card deck. So that's all up to personal preference, essentially, but you can definitely do that if you want to. Then moving on to our extra deck, we have, obviously, Cherubini. This card is insane. 2 level 3s, send a level 3 to deck as cost, which is just nuts. This card is so good. And then Rusty Bardish, speaking of cards that are nuts, this just sends a Phantom Knight from deck to grave to set Phantom Knight spell and trap. So typically you'll be sending Cloak to set Shade, and you can summon Shade, and you can banish the Cloak, add a Boots, summon the Boots, and you'll just get 2 free monsters on board. But you can also set Fog Blades. So this is just a really solid card overall. Super good. And then the little Dragoon package, Anaconda and Dragoon. Again, you don't need to play this if you don't want to. You literally just cut it out of the deck and replace these with whatever else you want in the extra. And also, IP Masquerena, another really good generic extra deck option, and the associated Unicorn. Discard 1, shuffle 1 back. It's pretty good. Then Appaloosa, it's another generic option that you can go into at the end of your combo just to provide 3 negates, which you don't typically need because you can set Fog Blades and stuff to make up for those negates. So, yeah, it's just a good generic option to have, though, especially like later game when you don't really have anything good to go into. This can be an option to go into. Then Boral Sword, so we can OTK. And the not amazing looking gold rare, but take what I can get at this point. And then Barricade Board and Link Spider as generic. You can go into Link Spider a lot because you want to get, because you can turn Shade Brigandine into an effect, so you can go into Predaplant for the Dragoon. And then Blocker fixes awkward hands because you can link 2 into this, and it just gets them engraved. So typically, when you open like Phantom Knight stuff, you'll go into this. And then, wouldn't be a Burning Abyss deck if we weren't playing Dante. Dante can get you into your Eldlich Engine if you're missing it in your hand. It's optional to go into, you don't have to, but, and I typically don't, but if it can fix hands, it is good enough to play in this deck. And then Break Sword, you can use this as essentially a combo piece, and you do use its pop effect sometimes, especially if like a Cursed Elblend on field. You can pop that to pop something your opponent controls, which is really good. But you usually use him because when he's destroyed, you can summon the 2 Phantom Knights that were equipped to him, or attached to him as material, my bad. And yeah, that allows you to go into Evil Swarm Nightmare. I really like this card as a piece of interaction. For anyone who doesn't know what it does, it essentially just flips your opponent's sponsors flip space down when they're special summoned twice per turn, because it's not a hard once per turn, and you just attach material. So, really good, really interesting piece of interaction. I like it a lot. And then also Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon is your other rank 4 option, because this just allows you to go for some damage. You could also probably play like a rank up magic to go into some of the higher level Rebellion Xyz Dragon stuff, which are really pretty good cards as well. But I just like this because it's quick damage on board, which this deck can't always do. So this is a good option to go into it. And then Pleiades for the Eldlich stuff in the grind game. So real quick, I think I'll just demonstrate combo. So say opening one tour guide should be able to get you full combo, of course, assuming you're uninterrupted. So I'm just going to showcase that real quick here. So obviously we're going to normal summon our tour guide. We're going to activate tour guide effect to special summon from deck. We're going to special summon our graph. So then with these two, we're going to link 2 into a Cherubini using our 2 level 3 monsters, which is going to trigger our graph effect Engrave. Graph effect is going to trigger summoning Seer from deck, and then we're going to use the effect of Cherubini to send a level 3 from our deck to the grave, and this is where we're going to send Torn Scales. This is the part of the combo that doesn't always happen. This is how you get to full combo, but sometimes you will not be able to, for whatever reason, get this in here. So like if you didn't open tour guide and you have to like special summon the graph for whatever reason or whatever, if you can't essentially get graph into grave before you go into Cherubini, then you'll send graph or send Seer so that you can get 3 darks on board and just go into the next phase of the combo, which is just to link these guys off to go into Bardiche, which is your next play essentially most of the time. But for full combo, that'll trigger your Seer because it got sent to the grave, so you can target and special summon back Cherubini, which I don't think needs to be at a link arrow, correct me if I'm wrong, but because it's summoned back from grave, I'm pretty sure it does not need to be. And then you're going to trigger your Bardiche to send Cloak to set Shade Brigandine. So then you're going to activate the effect of Cloak Engrave to banish itself, to add Boots, which will also trigger your Phantom Knight's Stained Greaves, or Torn Scales, my bad, Engrave to special summon itself. And then you're going to activate the effect of Boots in hand to special summon itself. And then you're going to activate the effects of Set Shade Brigandine to special summon itself. This actually special summons if you have no traps in grave. So this can conflict with Imperm sometimes if you activated it during your opponent's turn to negate stuff. But most of the time it's live, and I feel like that interaction with Imperm isn't enough reason to not play Imperm, because it's just usually better than Veiler, especially if your opponent has like an Appaloosa up or something, and you need to out that with a what's it called? Imperm. So yeah, that's another preference that you can do. Some people don't like playing Imperm in decks that play Shade because of that interaction. I personally don't feel like it comes up enough to care about that. So yeah. And then this is the state of your end board, where you can choose to be a little bit flexible in what you want your end board to be. Typically, what I'll do for my end boards is I will just, it doesn't really matter which monsters you use, but I'll link 2 of them off, 2 of the effect ones off, to go into Anaconda, and I'll link 2 more off to go into an IP, and end on board of this. However, when Boots is sent to grave, at the end of the turn, or whenever it goes to grave, you can banish this to add a Fogblade, and then you can set that Fogblade. So you're essentially going to end on a board. This is my typical end board, which is IP Masquerena, Dragoon with the Anaconda here, and the Rusty, which cannot be used as link material. It'd be so busted if Rusty could be used as link material. Thankfully it cannot. And then on your opponent's turn, you'll be able to use IP to link, and you can, because you used 4, you could go into either a Unicorn, which will pitch 1 to spin back, or you can actually go into a 2 negate Appaloosa on your opponent's turn if you want even more monster negation, which is kind of excessive, not gonna lie, so I usually don't do that. That's one option this deck has. And then another thing that I really like about this deck is its ability to go into the little rank 4 engine that we play. So let's go back to this section of the combo where you can change your end board to essentially whatever combination you want of Dragoon, a rank 4, and IP. And it'll always end on Fogblade because Torn Scales should always be engraved. Actually, unless you do the rank 4 option, which is what we're going to do right now. So you're going to overlay for 3 to go into your break sword. And then Rusty actually has another effect that when I think it's a Dark Disease material monster is summoned to a zone it points to, you can destroy a card in the field. So you're going to actually destroy your own copy of Breaksword. So Breaksword says when it's destroyed, you can special summon the 2 Phantom Knights that were attached to it as materials, but they increase their levels by 1. And so you will summon these 2 back, and they're going to be level 4s now. So you're going to be able to make yourself a Nightmare. This can really be any rank 4 you want. I just really like Nightmare because it's a cool piece of interaction that you don't see a lot. And so I chose that. And then you can link this off into a Link Spider. And then this will be the other effect monster so that you can go into your Dragoon. And then obviously just get out the Dragoon via Anaconda. And then you won't have a Fogblade for this. But this is another common end board that I end on. And then you can also go into like I said, my usual board is this with the set Fogblade. Because it represents an Omni Negate, Monster Negate, and then these can be more Monster Negates or Shuffle Back. So it's a little bit better overall. But I also, a fair amount of the time, will go into Exton because it's a really fun piece of interaction. I just like it as a card. So yeah, that'll pretty much be the deck profile. There's an absolute mess here of all the cards I've shown you guys. But that'll be it for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I have another deck profile that I should be making fairly soon here. Hopefully it won't be as messy as this one it was. But, yeah. That'll just be Steel Family Cards saying ta-ta for now.